point game at that time. Danny Ainge only, I think, in 2010 or 2009 lost a record for most three-pointers made in a season on a team with Larry Bird, who people think was just a stellar three-point shooter. And Bird, until the later years of his career when he lost his mobility, didn't really use the three-point shot.
He couldn't get lift. He couldn't get lift off.
Well, I mean, people overestimate that too. Larry Bird could jump, but no, I mean, he just didn't use it because back in that time, I think the players were really, except for the ABA players who had come over, but the players were really trying to figure out how to incorporate this shot into the game.
Yeah.
And I think it took Bird losing his lift, believe it or not, to
get better at it.
He had to rely on it more because he couldn't drive around people the way he used to, and he wasn't as mobile and agile, so he depended more upon launching the three-point shot. And, man, even when he didn't have the lift, his shot was just so beautiful. The only player I can ever say that had a better jump shot, looks-wise, than Bird was Ray Allen.
Yeah, very pretty.
And I actually have people say, boy, Bird had an ugly shot. Are you kidding me? It was a little unorthodox, but it looked like a work of art.
It was. Everything there was for a purpose. And by the way, what other show, Nick, on the network can you go from talking about Merv Griffin to Larry Bird?
True. And
the same discussion.
And if you want to go back to our agenda here or whatever, there are some fabulously hilarious Larry Bird commercials from the 80s on YouTube.
Yes.
And I remember some of them on TV. But Bird just so uncomfortable doing anything other than playing basketball. Some of these commercials were just fantastic. So if you get a second, after you're finishing YouTubing William Shatner's Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, give Larry Bird a YouTube search for his 1980s Miller Lite commercials or Converse commercials. They were great.
So out of character for him. So out of character. Good stuff, though. Let's go to break, Nick. How about we do that?
Yeah, we got to regroup. We're on the wrong show here with this topic.
All right. Back with more Beats and Eats right after this.
We'll return after this word from our... Whoa, we got one? Sponsor.
Welcome back to Beats and Eats. Gelso and Ray in the virtual lounge. Thanks for joining us tonight. What a fun show it's been so far. We had a chance at the top of the show to talk to Adrian Zmed, the star, of course, of Grease 2, Bachelor Party, and Nick Gelso's favorite crime drama of all time.
Oh, God.
No, not Hill Street Blues, not NYPD
Hill Street
Blues. Not Dragnet. No, not any of those. Not any of those classics. No, Nick Gelso's favorite crime show of all time is T.J. Hooker, and we talked tonight to Officer Ramano. Those were great stories, though. The stories he told about Shatner and doing his own stunts, that was priceless.
Yeah, it was. That was great stuff. Really great stuff.
And then Zmed was the one that got injured.
Yeah, that's even funnier, too. I mean... Because he was athletic. I mean, obviously, just by the way, the things he was saying, but he was definitely, I guess, the stud of that show. And Shatner wasn't too happy about that, I'm sure.
Shatner of the girdle.
Yes. And the hair plugs.
Yeah, we know this from Lydia Cornell, don't we, that he wore the girdle. I can't remember.
Well, I knew that, too. I think my brother used to say that a lot.
Wasn't that pretty standard, though, for a lot of guys back in the 70s and 80s to wear the girdle under their costumes?
I think it was. I think it's probably still standard.
Well, I was thinking about a show, and I would love to get her or him on the show. Do you remember Buck Rogers?
Of course I remember Buck Rogers.
I'm going to try to get Aaron Gray on the show.
Aaron Gray. Yeah, help the Bionic Man.
Oh, man, Aaron Gray. Yeah, Lee Majors would be wonderful.
Lee Majors.
But Gil Gerard, who played Buck Rogers. Remember him?
Yep.
And I think he wore the girdle. He had a shape very much like like Shatner's. Yeah, if you remember.
That
big
chest.
Yeah, the big barrel chest.
and they always look like they had pneumonia or something, like they had a wrap around.
They looked so uncomfortable when they did anything athletic. He had pull a gun, run down a bad guy. You ever see Shatner jump over the hood of a car?
Yes, it's every time they open the show. It's fun.
You have to. I wasn't kidding, Nick, when we were talking to Adrian. Universal HD, that network, they actually they had like a hooker marathon on the other day.
That's great.
And I was on the couch watching a couple episodes, and I watched that along with Charlie's Angels. I know I'm really weird, Nick, but
Charlie's Angels, another good one. I tell you what, with Netflix, I'm going to watch T.J. Hooker again just for a laugh.
Well, you're going to listen to it. You're going to listen to it and watch it just for the open, Nick. I played only half that open, by the way.
Yeah, but they didn't play that every show. That was the extended. You somehow found the extended version.
Yeah, I found the rap mix, extended version. The club mix of the T.J. Hooker Open is what I was playing. That thing went on forever. I didn't think it was going to end.
Yeah, although I sat there through about a minute of it, and then, come on!
I know. You were losing your patience with me. I think you did that to me one other night. We were going to play the entire version of On the Dark Side when we had Michael Pare on. You're like, what is this? What are you playing, DJ here? Get that crap off.
It was a little more subtle then. I didn't quite have the balls I do now with you, Ty. I mean, that was only 2 shows in.
Yeah, exactly. That was only a couple of shows in, but yeah. So it's kind of fun. I try to find the theme song to whatever guest or whoever guest we have on the program. I think it only makes sense. And to me, the T.J. Hooker theme is a theme that's not that recognizable.
No. And that show ran 5 seasons, I think. I mean, think about this. That show ran longer than the original Star Trek, which launched everything in the Star Trek. I mean, the new Star Trek movies, whether you're a Trekkie or not, like my cousin, he's 23, I think, and he's a Netflix junkie too, so he's here quite often, and he hates Star Trek, but loves the first 2 the prequels, the new movies, and they are fantastic.
Are you talking about the ones with Chris Pine, right?
With Chris Pine and Quinto, they're just really, really well done. I can't remember the director's name. He's famous though. It'll come to me. But really, really phenomenal movies.
Yeah.
And actually, this latest one, you would like, Ty, because see, they kind of, I don't know. Have you seen them at all?
I have not seen them yet. Actually, I saw the first one. I take that back. I did see the first one, and I liked it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting twist on the concept. It's as if this the past is altered by it's an alternate reality of the past. So of Kirk and Spock and Scotty and all these guys, it's a different reality. So this one that just came out, I think it's Into the Darkness, features Khan.
The casting in these films, it's terrific. It's terrific. Not only do the actors look like the originals, they've got their mannerisms down perfectly.
Well, they do, and if you think about it, these are characters that have become so iconic that you can really ruin the integrity of the show trying to imitate them or mimic them too much. And I think Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto, and they all really do I can't remember who plays McCoy, but he's famous. He's coming out with that Need for Speed movie now. But they all, without making a fool of themselves or making fun, especially the Christopher Pine, because Kirk was pretty dramatic. You can really make a fool out of yourself trying to imitate him too much. So,
well, he did. He himself made a fool out of himself, but that was the beauty of it.
Exactly. But Pine does a perfect Captain Kirk. Perfect. Almost better than Shatner does.
I have to ask you, Nick, what character is played by Alice Eve? The blonde? She was in the second one. Do you know?
It's Carol. I know exactly who she was. I had to remember the character's name. Dr. Carol Marcus, who, if you remember in The Wrath of Khan, do you remember The Wrath of Khan?
Of course I do.
Okay. She was the professor, the doctor that Kirk had the son with, that Shatner had the son with.
Oh, okay.
She's in that movie. It's not the same actress. Right, but it's this. Now they're going into how Kirk met her and had David Marcus, who ends up being the professor that the Klingons kill wow, do I sound like a Trekkie.
You do.
Next topic.
And you're going to call me a geek.
Really? I am.
Really?
I am a sci-fi geek. So much so that I watch the cartoon, The Clone Wars.
No, really?
And I have to tell you, I wait all week for the new episode to come out. And it's a 30-minute cartoon of Star Wars, and it's fantastic. It's really, really, really good. After the show tonight, I guess maybe that's what I'll watch now that Breaking Bad is over.
Wow.
I have to take a poll because I have been, I polled what to watch first. You know that on Netflix. Do I watch House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, Breaking Bad, Lost? What do I watch? And overwhelmingly, most people said Breaking Bad, so I went there. So now that Breaking Bad is no longer a part of my life, tears, whimper, cry, I have to figure out where my episodic television life is going to go next. And maybe I need to go out and take a poll again.
The Wire is another one you should write down, my friend. The Wire.
The Wire. I'll write that down. I have that with House of Cards and Orange is the New Black.
The Wire is terrific.
Truly, if anybody out there that's listening would like to help me in this pursuit of a new show, you feel free to email me, Nick, the letter G as in George, at clnsradio.com. Because I do need help here, Ty, because like I said, I was really contemplating on the way home is doing Entourage. I've never watched Entourage.
I didn't watch that either, and you would think that would...
people just love it. And Lorenzo, who's going to be joining us at 1:15 to talk Breaking Bad, he looks like Jeremy Piven. They look very, very similar.
Well, you would think guys like you and I who are attracted to entertainment would love that show. But once again, it's like there's just not enough hours in the day. And like in my old career when I was doing television news well into the wee hours sometimes, I wasn't watching TV. And, of course, to be honest, Nick, when I wasn't watching TV, one reason I wasn't watching TV is because the last thing I wanted to do was watch TV. I was just on TV.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's similar to when you asked me a couple shows back what I ate, the whole fast food thing, And when I was in the restaurant business, the last thing I wanted to eat was fine dining because that's what I always cooked all day long. It's the same concept.
You just want to get away from it. And I was brainstorming while we were talking about Star Trek. There's a couple people maybe I'll reach out to while we were having this conversation. I'd love to talk to Bess Armstrong. She was a star in the 80s. Maybe I can get her on the show. She was in the Voyage Home. Do you remember that with the whales?
Yes, of course, yes. The blonde?
Yes.
That's her name?
Yeah.
She really annoyed me in that movie. But I'll tell you, that's a hilarious movie. It's a very funny take on Star Trek. I think it ruined the franchise.
Well, the interesting thing is, Nick, if you ask non-Star Trek fans what their favorite Star Trek movie is, it's that one.
Well, because it's funny, but in reality, in my mind, it ruined that franchise, like the original franchise, because after that, they tried to balance the two, which was the dramatic
with the comedy,
sci-fi with the comedy quirks, and it just didn't work. Matter of fact, the movie after that, Shatner produced. And I think it was he directed it and produced it. Nick, and I think it was by far the worst one.
Not just by far the worst movie. It was not a good film. Period. Okay, I fell asleep.
Bad.
I went to a midnight showing. That you're thinking, is it Star Trek: The Final Frontier or Star Trek V?
Yes.
Right?
Star Trek V. One of Final Frontier. That's what. No, 6 was the final. Boy, do we sound like Trek.
This is bad. And I'm not even a Trekkie, but I do know that
Star Trek 5. Star Trek 6. Wait a minute. What is Star Trek 5?
Isn't it the Final Frontier? All I know is any movie that has Bones and Kirk singing "Row, row, row your boat" at a campfire. That's not a recipe for good filmmaking.
And they hurt the integrity of the show because what they did was and if you go back and listen to it, the sound effects were always so great in Star Wars and Star Trek. Yeah. But it was you knew immediately if there were nothing but sound effects, no vocals, no music, nothing but laser beams beaming, you knew it was Star Trek or you knew it was Star Wars, okay? And in this movie, Star Trek, adopted Star Wars